I am John Polt, the MC here. There's a typo in the program. It says John Polt, MC extraordinaire. That's supposed to be extraordinary. There's a little mistake. See how I did that, Stephen? Yeah. Anyway, I want to welcome you. It's my great honor and pleasure to welcome you to the 21st Annual Satchmo Summerfest presented by Chevron, and particularly to the Legacy stage this year in memory of Joni Berry. So give yourselves a hand for being here. How's it feel to be back out amongst people again? I think it feels great. How's it going out there, Stephanie? Give Stephanie a big hand from the festival. They do such a great job. It's a small staff, and they're just terrific, all of them. Remember, this is the only festival in Louisiana dedicated to Louis Armstrong and his great and profound legacy, and it is, as I said, produced by French Quarter Festivals, who have been doing this great work since 1984. It's made possible through the generosity of our sponsors, which I will talk about in a moment, but also your help by purchasing festival merchandise, and you'd look good in a Satchmo t-shirt. I'm just saying. And also, it's hot out there, so cold drinks, the beverages, support even this very stage. So please, when you're out and about, listening to Kermit send us off this evening, make sure you get a lot of cold drinks. Back to our sponsors. As you can see, it's the Satchmo Summerfest presented by Chevron, whose logo is a chevron. Also, the New Orleans Jazz at the Mint. And give Aiden and Travis a big hand. They're doing yeomanly work. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our head man of this show, Bad Andy. Give him a big hand. Also, the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation, Janice Folks in the back. Give her a hand. And Richie and Vicky Norwegian. I'd also like to make a special mention of the Joseph and Inez Eichenbaum Foundation, which Joni, she ran it, correct, Stephen? Which she ran, and Stephen Maitland-Lewis, give him a big hand. And make sure you take a look at that poster that details some of the great work that Joni did. Okay, we are up next. Also, remember this is streaming and it will be archived for some time on the French Quarter Festival Facebook page, also its YouTube channel. And am I correct today? It's also at musicatthemint.org? Okay, got it. So also there. So, you could relive. I was studying the film last night. I haven't done it in a while. You got to study the film. I need a diet. Oh, man, I tell you. Anyway, to talk about his new show, The Making of a Musical, A Wonderful World, is Christopher Renshaw. He, for many years, has been all over the world directing opera and musicals and plays. He was the resident director at the Royal Opera House. He also did many productions at the Sydney Opera House, including Norma with Joan Sutherland. He did a well-regarded series of Gilbert and Sullivan operettas. He's produced and directed on the West End and a number of Broadway shows, including The King and I in 1996, ran 780 performances, and was won 4 Tonys, including Best Revival of a Musical, and he was nominated for Best Director and won the Drama Desk Award for Best Director of that year. As you know, he will be opening his newest musical. He did musicals with the music of Queen, with musical with lyrics by Boy George, and a musical with the Gypsy Kings called Zorro. If I listed all of his accomplishments, there wouldn't be time for his presentation. So I will bring him up now. Please give a big, warm welcome to Christopher Renshaw.
Thanks, John. That was really sweet. I'd forgotten I'd done all that. This is my trusty clicker. So he's going to be my best friend for the next half an hour or so. Here we go. Hi. My name is Chris Renshaw, as John said. And I want to say it's a special joy to be at this particular venue this afternoon, especially as I'm here by suggestion of Mr. Stephen Maitland-Lewis. As you all know, this stage now bears his wife's name. Just wish I had met Joni. She sounds more than wonderful. Stephen and I, though, have become great friends and colleagues, although we only actually met yesterday. 2 years ago, my nephew Andrew, who is by chance starting a soccer team here in New Orleans, met Stephen and Joni at dinner here and told them that his Uncle Chris, that's me, had just directed a musical about Louis Armstrong. Andrew is here today too. Thanks, old chap, for a wonderful introduction. Steve and I became close pandemical Zoom friends, one of life's amazing little accidents. We talked about Louis Armstrong and the musical I just directed. And we even talked about his first play, which he had just completed, a reading of which I'm directing in a few weeks' time. It's all a bit exciting. Thanks, Stephen. But we are here to talk about the making of a musical, and that musical is A Wonderful World. Here to start off is the trailer of that musical.
Bracelets, Woolworths doesn't sell. My baby, baby.
You play me cheap, don't you make no creep. Baby, 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 baby.
I'm crazy about my baby. And my baby's crazy now. Give me a reefer and a gang of gin. Slay me 'cause I'm in my sin.
Someday, when you grow lonely, your heart will break, but honey, he want me only.
Now I've got my butter and egg man. And I'm closing wide. The bright, blessed day, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
How lucky we are to have that video. This new musical was in previews and was scheduled to open in Miami on March the 14th, 2020. On March 12th, Broadway closed its doors. We knew we had to be next. But the city of Miami Beach took a brave risk and let us do one more preview. We scrambled and got 3 cameras in that night. Friday, the 13th of March, what a biblical date. We never opened. At first, it seemed for me and my wonderful world family that we had been struck by a massive personal tragedy. But in the days, weeks, months following, we all learnt that our little upset was nothing compared to the massive tragedies that were happening to so many people around the world. What a learning experience this has all been. But for us, at least, a happy ending. We are finally opening this show on December the 11th. And here is and here is the box office number. Sorry, I just slipped that in. Somebody once said that musicals aren't made, they happen by accident. Not sure who it was, maybe Andrew Lloyd Webber, maybe Stephen Sondheim. Perhaps it was just me. But the making of A Wonderful World certainly held true to that maxim. To explain how we got to the final result, a glimpse of which you've just seen in the trailer, let me tell you something of the series of happy accidents that enriched my life and intertwined it with that of the great Louis Armstrong. You know a lot about Satchmo. Here's a little about me. Born near London, you can probably hear that. Went to Oxford University, was so desperate to be an opera singer, but unfortunately had no voice, so I decided to direct. I joined the Royal Opera House Covent Garden, where one day the director I was assisting was accidentally late for a rehearsal. So I suddenly found myself directing the divine Joan Sutherland. La Stupenda. Joan became my theatrical mum. She looked after me, taught me to grow up, and became my artistic beacon. I've been a complete and idiotic fan of Joan Sutherland since the age of 8. And now I was directing her. I remember once staying at her house in Rome, where she used to wake me up with a cup of tea singing Lucia di Lammermoor coming up the stairs. The stuff that dreams are made on. She invited me to direct at the Sydney Opera House, where I did 15 productions. But while in Sydney, I was asked to do my first musical, The King and I, with Hayley Mills. Remember? Parent Trap and all that? But by total chance, Mary Rogers, the daughter of the composer Richard Rogers, Rogers and Hammerstein, etc., decided to come halfway around the globe to check on what I'd been up to. At the intermission, I was terrified. Mary loomed up to me and said, "Come and stay with me in New York and let's do your production on Broadway." She really did talk like that. My second theatrical mum. I owe so much to this indomitable woman. I stayed in her apartment for 2 years. She couldn't get rid of me. And Broadway did happen. As John just said, the show won 4 Tonys, and since then I have been lucky enough to be directing musicals all over the world, and the world was luckily saved from ever hearing my opera voice. I now live in Miami. Another happy accident. I just like the weather there. But by chance, a new and adventurous theatre company had now opened its doors just steps away from my apartment. Miami New Drama, which has its home in the beautiful Art Deco Colony Theatre. I went to a premiere of a play there, first-rate quality. I was gobsmacked, as we say in London. The dynamic artistic director of Miami New Drama, Michelle Haussman, said to me, "You're a famous music theatre director living across the street from my theatre. You should bloody well do a musical here." I'm not stupid, so I immediately started thinking of a project. I had met the screenwriter, Andrew de la Plaine, over a cocktail or two, and Andrew is also here today. Hello, friend. And he invited me to a boat party given by his sister and brother-in-law, Renee and Tom Rogers. Tom is a keen jazz pianist, and on the boat, He told me that of all the great jazz icons, the persona and music of Satchmo were his absolute favorites. Here is Tom with a couple of his friends. And yes, that really is LeBron James. He said he'd do anything to see a musical based on the life of his jazz hero. Another happy accident. An idea was born. In Tom Rogers, we had found our angel, and with Miami New Drama, our home. My friend Andrew de la Plaine and I set about doing as much research as we could to find a way in to the story. But I soon realized the more you learn about the great Mr. Armstrong, the less you actually know. Not only was he the greatest jazz trumpeter who ever lived, not only was his voice, face, and smile instantly recognizable the whole world over, not only with the Hot 5 and Hot 7 did he define a new American music, but he did all this, as his story tells, as a poor black child born in the slums right at the beginning of the 20th century, and then somehow managed to struggle through the repercussions of 2 world wars, a Great Depression, the evils of segregation, the Great Migration, Prohibition, and everything else the century could throw at him. Yet still, the formidable Satchmo emerges as a great American icon. I came to New Orleans hoping that just by standing underneath his statue, some inspiration might magically trickle down from Louis to me. But instead, being in Congo Square did not infuse me with dipper-mouth enlightenment, but made me think of how much more Louis represents. At the beginning of the 20th century, New Orleans seemed to me to be the place where a new America could be born. An astonishing gumbo of cultures, races, and experiences that melded together could give the new century hope. And that hope was indeed encapsulated in the birth of an indigenous American music, jazz. Perhaps being a Brit gave me a deepened objectivity. But I started feeling that this subject, was just too big and too important for the 2-hour span of a musical. Musicals have to compact things, sometimes trivialize things. It is in the nature of their form. Truths have to be bent and facts altered to fit that form. To attempt to tell the story who changed music forever and in a century which changed the world forever was just too big a challenge for my musical. Then something struck me. Louis had married 4 times, 4 wives. How about if we could tell the story through the eyes of these 4 women who had loved, nurtured, and changed him? That a musical just might be able to do. These 4 remarkable and remarkably different women came to represent for me the spring, summer, autumn, and winter of his life. And with little music theatre magic, each of the wives could also be associated with the 4 main places where he and his art had developed: New Orleans, Chicago, Hollywood, and Queens, New York. We had our concept and form. And so we went ahead. His first wife was Daisy Parker. Daisy was a prostitute who worked in the brothels of Storyville. I had always thought that Storyville was a place where you could go and just make up your own stories. Live your dreams. In some ways it was. Louis had been visiting the infamous red light district since he was a kid, delivering buckets of coal for the hookers' stoves. As you can see, they didn't wear much and got quite chilly. He loved the Karnofskys, the Jewish coal merchants for whom he worked. They gave him his first trumpet, a tin horn, to attract the customers. He wore a Star of David around his neck for the rest of his life. He and Daisy had almost grown up together there in the brothels. They were married when they were 16 or thereabouts. Daisy was hot-tempered, fiery, and possessed legendary skills with her ankle knife. But she gave Louis his first taste of sensuality, and above all taught him how to survive and be strong. Here is Dion Figgins in full flight as Daisy Parker.
All that meat and no potatoes just ain't right, like green tomatoes. Here I'm waiting for palpitating for all that meat and no potatoes.
Ooh, Dipper makes share.
Lottie,
How's your trombone?
I play trumpet.
I'm not talking about what you play.
You little skunk-faced bitch! People say I got a temper. I don't see it.
We all love Dion Figgins. Louis met his second wife after he left New Orleans in the great migration for Chicago, Lil Hardin. There she is. Lil, college-educated professional musician, accomplished classical and jazz pianist. She played in the famous King Joe Oliver's band, which was truly a unique achievement for a woman in those days. She was sophisticated and savvy. She transformed the young Louis from a country hillbilly to the elegant performer that we recognize today. She taught him how to dress, how to read music, how to behave. She created the icon. Here is Lana Gordon in action as Lil Hardin.
This is the point where he fell in love with me. I can't give you anything but love.
But don't you play me,
baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of.
because I look so mean.
After you gone and left me crying. After you gone, there's no denying you feel blue. You feel sad. You miss the greatest mama you ever had.
In the end, Louis might have felt a little overwhelmed by Lil, like many men do when their wives have talent, drive, and ambition, especially at that time. She was a businesswoman, and for Louis, Lil was too much business and not enough woman, and perhaps too controlling for such a free spirit. So in the words of Monty Python, and now for something completely different. Alpha Smith. Alpha was a Satchmo fan. He had spotted her at his concerts. She used to save the pennies from her maid's salary and sit in the front row. She was beautiful and sweet. And certainly when they were first married, she cared and cooked for him and fulfilled all his needs. But in the Hollywood years, Louis noticed her growing penchant for diamonds and furs, and she, on her part, gradually got tired of the endless cooking and mending. Nicole Henry as Alpha Smith.
But I've got my butter and egg man from way up north. 'Cause I don't wanna be cooking all day. So I got some money when I wants to play. Now pretty clothes, they'll always be mine. And when my dreams come true, the sun's gonna shine. Now I've got my butter and egg man, and no more of your rice and beans. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She left him for his drummer, one of the occupational hazards of being a jazz performer, so I'm told. At the Cotton Club, he had seen Lucille Wilson on stage. Although Lucille, Louis called her brown sugar, although she had started life as a showgirl, her heart was just not in the show business. She wanted to create a home, make a life, and care for someone special. In Louis, she found that someone. In my opinion, Louis struck gold when he married Lucille Wilson. She bought the house in Queens and gave him something he thought he would never have had, a home. She gave him security. Lucille tolerated his endless touring, endured his infidelities, and could accept that, although a loving and caring man, his music always had to come first. Darlene Hope as Lucille.
And that's how it happened. I'm the world's most happy creature. Tell me what can worry me. I'm crazy about my baby, and my baby's crazy about me.
My client is the most successful musician in the world and perhaps the most successful American who ever
He
lived.
loves me. That's why I keep our marriage certificate right up front, first hallway before you get to the bedroom, so people know. Hey, he loves me. I needn't say no more, 'cause that's my home. Macy's, $75. Baby clothes. That's my home.
Over the last 2 years, I have felt I've got to know these ladies intimately. They've become friends, and I admire all of them. Lucky to have worked and learn about them. So now, we just had to make the musical. The music I felt we had, after all, I'd given myself the luxury of allowing myself to be able to use any song that Louis had ever written and recorded. A lot of good stuff there. The world was our oyster in that department. But a writer for such a specific musical book, hard one. We often say in the musical theatre world, when a show isn't working, it's the book, you fool, it's the book. Book writing is a difficult art. To write the script of a musical, not only do you have to be a good playwright, but you have to be able to subjugate your own writer's ego and get on the train of endless changes that the making of a musical demands. Staying up all night writing the new scene that the director has just asked for to get it into rehearsal the next morning. Book writers have to be extremely talented saints. I also felt that as a slightly older white British guy, I needed a bit of help from an authentic voice. Michelle Houseman introduced me to Orrin Squire. You may know Orrin as a writer of shows like This Is Us, Brain Dead, Evil, and The Good Fight. I love that one. Orrin and I got on like a house on fire. He told me at our first meeting that when a friend of his recently asked him to a holiday party at New School for Jazz, there was a secret Santa, but there was one extra gift. They gave it to Orrin. Inside the package, he found a giant tome, a biography of Louis Armstrong. Serendipity strikes again. He told me he had devoured it and even gone to LA to pitch a miniseries on Storyville. Orrin was trained as a musician, like me, a violinist. He says he listens to voices as if they are musical notes. And with Louis, he had found a voice that is a massive symphony of the whole American experience. I love Orrin's work. Here, for instance, is the scene where Daisy Parker meets the new wife.
I'm so proud of you.
Easy.
Who is this?
I'm Louis's wife. I'll take over from here. So I decided to forgive Louis.
We got divorced.
What divorce? Honey, I never signed anything.
Excuse me, I got this, and I got Louis.
Louis.
And here is Oren writing about the compromise every black artist encounters while becoming a success in America. Here he is getting advice from the legendary Step and Fetch It.
Them rednecks laugh themselves blue when I do what I do. I get cards, liquor, letters, and stronger stuff. Ooh. I even get panties. I can start up a white woman's lingerie store with all the drawers I get. Take their panties, take their money, and take their laughter too. It's yours, Louis. People will love you.
Which people?
Lou, you see, people is white. Colors are folk. And we are cats. Now, are folks paying your bills?
No.
Well, then fuck them. They ain't keeping your lights on. If they ain't putting gas in your caddy, they ain't got a right to say shit. Fuck them folks.
Is that what cats do out here?
The smart ones, listen, it's what you gotta do. Please the people and fuck the folks. And keep grinning and shining while you're doing it.
Kind of great to get Step and Fetch It back on stage. Who ever thought that would happen? Although I said we had the music. Come on, Mr. Clicker. Although I said we had the music, that music is nothing without appropriate and brilliant arrangements. Enter Anastasia Victory and Michael O. Mitchell. A married couple team, I love that, combining the top of Broadway and jazz piano experience. For instance, you can catch Michael every Wednesday night as the MD of the famous Apollo Amateur Night, and believe me, that's something not to be missed. On the night I went, apparently they weren't booing enough, but I still loved it every minute. Anastasia and Michael have a gift of making you hear an old song as if it was the first time. Listen to what they do with a famous standard. This is the moment in our show when all four wives realize that Louis is dying.
I went down to St. James Infirmary.
Saw my baby there.
He was stretched out on a long white table. So sweet, so cool, so fair.
Let him go, let him go.
God bless him, wherever he may be.
And of course, choreography. Ricky Tripp, Broadway powerhouse. Ricky was actually in the original cast of In the Heights and transitioned then to become one of Broadway's most innovative and in-demand choreographic talents. Here are the dancers rehearsing the moment when Louis, playing on the riverboat, kicks up a storm by leading the band in a Dixieland version of Al Johnson's Avalon. And there's so much more that goes into making a musical. The set, model drawing, it's finding a way to suggest four completely different venues: New Orleans, Chicago, Hollywood, and Queens, all at different times in the 20th century. And then the costumes, about 150 of them. Fast costume changes, spreading over the span of a century. Wigs, fast wig changes, and then lighting and sound, giving the lighting designer enough time to bringing the best out of the set, and the sound designer enough time to be bringing the best out of our voices and music, and rehearsals whenever and wherever you can. Now, I decided not to show you too much of the actor who plays Louis Armstrong, Jason Williams. After all, there has to be some reason left to come and see the show. But suffice it to say, Jason Williams truly is a man with a heart full of rhythm. And here, just for fun, is my buddy Jason on a recent excursion on America's Got Talent with his inspirational singers. And you might just recognize some of his friends.
Oh, wow. Well, hello.
Beautiful group.
How are you?
We are wonderful.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, bullets in my gun. Whoa. I'm waiting through mighty ones. You know I got a made up mind.
Go, Jason, go, bring home that crown. It's funny, he calls me Professor, so I call him Maestro. And sometimes he says that I am dope. I love those moments. So, from the time I took on the idea of A Wonderful World the musical to the day of our last preview in 2020, only 1 year and 1 month had passed. And that is quite unique. They say musicals take 7 years and then you have to start all over again. And us, not only because of a series of happy accidents, but because we have a truly wonderful team that really pulled together towards one goal. Making musicals is all about collaboration without ego. And I am forever grateful to everyone who so generously collaborated and helped create the dream. We did our one and only script and music reading in New York on August the 1st, 2019. And so to end, here is a little video of the transformation of a reading to an actual performance.
Come along with me to the Mississippi. We'll take a boat to the land of dreams. Steam down the river down to New Orleans. The band's there to meet us. Old friends to greet us. We'll take a boat to the land of dreams, where all the stars on the burning street, where all the light and the dark will speak. Whirling on nothing but a Mason Street.
And that's how we made our musical. Thank you.
We have time if anyone has any questions for Chris. Any questions? Yes.
We're announcing it. It's actually going on sale, I think, next week. The website will be up. It's been so difficult this year, and things keep changing, but we'll be going ahead, and I think tickets will be available from next week. So please come to Miami.
How long will the run be in Miami?
We're doing about two months or so, and then we have plans, which I think are not unrealistic, of going to Broadway. And I also want to take it to London. Whenever you tell us, give us a theatre. We'd love to, I'd love to do this show here. New Orleans it made such a huge impact on me when I came last time. You really feel the strength of what it has in its soul and what Louis got from it. I'm really impressed by this city, and it feels massively full of spirit. Yeah, we nearly did one this year, but we thought we'd wait. But there will be a soundtrack. But because we had to close before we opened, we couldn't. We're not really allowed to make a soundtrack. So as soon as we open, there'll be a soundtrack. I tell you, it's. I've seen a lot of musicals, and sometimes musicals, even to me, can feel a bit silly. And I really feel this one has not only entertainment value, but depth, and it's about something. And both white audiences and black audiences both say they have learned something from it. And that's the greatest pleasure that I can find, to give. So, yes, please come and see it. And I really hope it comes to New Orleans. I'll certainly be here.
All right, everyone. It's Christopher Renshaw. I'm waiting for my ticket, and it is very rare when you get to see the magician reveal the secret behind. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. Thank
you. We're going to recalibrate here, and coming up next at 3 o'clock will be